Okie doke. In this example of data sampling, we're going to download data from the San Francisco publicly accessible salary database. And the link you can see is right on the top of your screen, and you have it in your Google Classroom assignment. So the sort of the big picture that we're doing here is we're going to look for all salary data for the year 2019, fiscal year 2019, because there's calendar year and fiscal year, and those are two different kinds of years. Typically, fiscal year winds up being shifted a little bit off from the calendar year, but it's an accounting distinction that doesn't make much sense to us right now. However, I want to make sure that we're doing fiscal data because that's sort of an official time period, a billing time period for many public agencies, or many companies, in fact. Okay, so you start out at this page, and the first thing you have to do is to set a filter. And so we're going to go click on the filter button, and the filter is going to show a drop-down list of what fields you can choose. We want to involve a filter of two fields. One is on the year type column and one is on the year column. So we're going to have two filters. So I'm going to add a filter condition, and I'm going to click on this drop-down list of field names. Now, all websites have different filtering methods, and so this is the filtering method for this website. It'll likely be completely different on another website that you look at. So there's no uniformity here on how to filter data. However, what we're going to do inside of Google Sheets after we get this data is universally applicable to all different kinds of data. So that's where the real punch comes in this lesson. So I'm going to click on the drop-down list here, and I'm going to choose year type, and I'm going to type in fiscal. And you have to be careful to type in exactly the way you see it here, because that's the way the data is structured. So if I type lowercase f, it's not going to work. And I want to do another filter condition, the second filter condition, and that is going to be on the year field. So I'm going to choose the year field and choose 2019, so 2019. And when I close the filter, you should notice the grid refreshing to show you only data related to the year 2019. And you can tell because there's about 44,528 records here. This is one record for every human being that worked for the city and county of San Francisco for fiscal year 2019. And there's a lot of people with a lot of different kinds of salaries, lots of different job types. And so we'll explore those later. So now we need to export this data and put it into Google Sheets. Click on the export button, choose CSV for Excel, and the computer will proceed to download the comma separated values file. CSV stands for comma separated values. That means each value in the data set is separated by a comma separated values. So it looks like it's done. I'm going to do a quick check on it, and it looks like it's roughly 9 megabytes, approximately 9 megabytes in size. Let's go to Google Sheets and import it. I'm going to open up Google Sheets, sheets.google.com, and I'm going to create a blank sheet. Look at me, I created a blank sheet. There's nothing in this sheet right now. I want to import that data that I downloaded. Now, I'm working on Windows, you're going to be working on a Chromebook, likely working on a Chromebook, so it's going to be slightly different, but the idea is the same. So I'm going to click on File, I'm going to click on Import, and then I'm going to click on Upload and Browse. And I'm going to pick the file that I just downloaded. It will be called for all of you, Employee Compensation. Double click on that. The computer will proceed to import the file, and it'll ask you a couple of questions about where do you want to put it? You want to put it in a new spreadsheet? You want to replace the existing one? We're just going to choose the default options here and click Import Data. The computer is going to proceed to import that data. This will work with any comma separated values file, by the way. At this point, we're away from the city website, and now we're just working with a file of comma separated data, and all these tools and techniques we're going to be doing are entirely generic, and you can do with any data set that you have. So on Chromebooks, it could take a little bit of time to import this file, and I want you to be conscious up here in the right-hand corner, there's a little bar that will appear, sort of a little status bar, which will show you the status of the spreadsheet import. And when you're done, that little status bar will disappear, and we're ready to add another page to our sheet. So let's click on the plus button, and we're going to add a field called Data Samples. Data Samples. and press the Enter key. So we've now basically created another tab on our spreadsheet. And so the tab that we're creating on our spreadsheet is going to be used to select samples. So here's how we're going to select samples. I want you to type the word sample, SAMPLE1, and sample 2 all the way to 10. So I'm going to do that right now. Sample 2, sample 3, sample 4, sample 5, sample 6, sample 7, sample 8, sample, SAMPLE 8, SAMPLE 9, and sample 10. Now what we want to do is we want to pick a random sample of employee salaries. And let's agree upon a salary number to look at. And there's a lot of different salary numbers: retirement salaries, benefits. There's salaries are broken down into multiple pieces. We're going to pick the total salary, and there's 44,000 of these. We want to pick a random 30 of these, and there's a couple different ways you can do it. One way is by adding a column, putting a random function in it, and then sorting the spreadsheet by that random function. But there's another way to do it, and the way we're going to be doing it here, and both methods are equally valid, but this method is probably going to be a little easier. We're going to use a function, this long, strange-looking function right here, this index function. Now, what this index function does in Google Sheets is it goes and grabs a random cell from somewhere in a collection of data. And the random cell that it's grabbing the data from is somewhere in column Q, which is this column right here, column Q, the total salary column. So on the data samples page, put your cursor on A2, and you're going to enter this very long expression into that field. And I'm going to paste it, and you'll have this available on Google Classroom. You can also pause the video if you want to know specifically, if you want some time to enter it. But notice the structure of this thing. It says index is the main function, the Google Sheets function called index, which translates to, in sort of human language, go get something from this place. And the place that Google Sheets is going to get something from is this range of cells. The employee compensation page from cell number Q2, which is the second cell in column Q, all the way down to the bottom, which is cell Q 44,529. That's the place from which Google Sheets will take a value. Now, what value we take is satisfied by this cool little feature, which is a random number between 1 and the total number of values in that range, which would be technically 44,528 values. So it's going to go and grab a random value from that column and place it right in that cell. That's a random salary of somebody who made that amount of money, looks like $89,845 in the year 2019. Now you're simply going to copy this cell and you're going to paste it into 30 other cells in this column. And so you can see here I've got 31 on the 31st row, which is, the first row is for the word sample, and then the remaining 30 rows down to 31 are the individual salary samples. We've chosen 30 random salaries. Now we're just going to copy this and paste it over 10 times. So you're going to highlight this, press Control C, and you're going to paste 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 10 samples of size 30 from all 44,528 different salaries paid to 44,528 different people in the calendar year 2019. And there are a lot of city employees. And so now we're going to take an average of this random sample. And this should start to seem familiar to you. You should be thinking about sampling distributions right now. Because if I'm taking an average from a randomly chosen sample, you know that the distribution of those averages is going to be approximately normal. This is what the central limit theorem indicates. And so we're going to go equal average, A-V-E-R-A-G-E, and we can use just the autocomplete because Google Sheets is smart enough to realize that the column has nothing but numeric values in it, so it's going to suggest a cell range for us. And that's the average of that 30 sample. If you copy this and paste it, that's the average for that sample, the average for that sample, and so forth and so on. You'll probably notice that every time I paste something, the spreadsheet is recalculating, and that's because these are randomly chosen values. And every time you change a spreadsheet, Google recalculates. So if I put the number, some information in here like hello, Google said, oh, the spreadsheet changed. I better reevaluate every function. That's one of the magic tricks of a spreadsheet. That's why you're getting different samples every single time. Okie doke. That describes our activity today of random sampling from a large collection of data.